Here's another video with some practice exercises to help you with the classwork from March 31st. This question says, what is the period of the graph whose equation is y equals 3 cosine 2x? As a review, although it's not asked in this question, the amplitude would be 3, since it's the number that comes in front of the cosine function. And it already is a positive value, so there's no need to take the absolute value. But in this question, we're asked to find the period. And the period is always based off of the frequency value. The frequency is the b value, and that would always be the number in front of the input variable, which is x in this case. Since there's a 2 multiplied by x, the frequency is 2. We find the period, though, by taking 2 pi and dividing by the frequency. So if we take 2 pi and divide by our frequency of 2, our period in this case would be pi radians. And that in degrees, the question has two choices in degrees. Pi radians is 180 degrees, making our period 180 degrees, or pi radians. What is the range of the function y equals 5 sine of x? The range is going to be the difference between the max and the min. And our max is our amplitude. Since the amplitude is 5, we know that the highest y value, first of all, we could take away choice 1 because that's dealing with x's, which is domain. And our y is dealing with values of the range, or the outputs. The highest possible range value would be the maximum, which is also the amplitude, which is 5 in this case. And that would go in either direction of the x-axis, making our lowest, or our minimum value, -5. Choice 4 is the right solution here. The question up top here. What is the equation for the accompanying graph? So we're really going to have to first find the amplitude. The highest value is 1, the lowest is -1, making our amplitude 1. We could take away choice 1 and 2 because those do not have an amplitude of 1. Our next consideration would be the frequency value, which is the b value, which is going to be based off of the period. So first we're going to have to determine, if we start here at the y-axis, when does a cycle complete itself? If we start here, the cycle goes down to the root, back through the root. So right around here would be one cycle. And if we continue, if we go all the way to 2 pi, we want to determine how many cycles by the time we get to 2 pi radians, how many cycles have happened. One cycle already happened here. If we go, we can complete another cycle by the time that we get here. And a third cycle completed itself by the time it gets to 2 pi, making our frequency 3, which would be the value in front of x. Choice 3 is the right answer here. And again, the amplitude is the a value in front of the cosine function. So in this case, a is 3, making our amplitude 3, choice 3. Another thing that we have to review is, from an equation, how do you find the amplitude, the range, the frequency, and the period? So I'm going to choose question 15 to work on here. First of all, the amplitude is the a value, so the amplitude is 2. That's always in front of the sine of the cosine function. And our range is going to be based off of that amplitude. Our range in this case is going to be the y values. The highest it could be is the amplitude, which is 2, and the opposite of the amplitude would be the lowest or the minimum. And our y value could be greater than or equal to -2 or less than or equal to 2. The frequency would be the b value, and that's the number in front of x. So our frequency here is 5. And the period is going to be based off of the formula 2 pi over b. 2 pi over b, which is 5, so the period is 2 pi over 5. 2 pi over 5. That would be how much time it takes for one full cycle of this equation to happen. And I'll show you another one. I'll use number 17. Same question, new equation. In 17, our amplitude, the a value, is 1/2, since it's the number in front of the cosine function. Our frequency is the number in front of x, so it's 2. Our range is going to be based off of that amplitude. 1/2 is the highest value, or the maximum. The opposite of that is -1/2, so that's the lowest or the minimum. The range is the y value, and it could be greater than or equal to the minimum, and less than or equal to the max. And finally, if we're asked to find the period of this function, we're going to use the formula 2 pi over b. We know that the b is 2 because that's the number in front of x, the frequency. Divide 2 pi by the frequency, and our period is pi. That's how much time it will take for one full cycle of that equation to complete itself. I'll do one more. 19. Question 19. The a value of the amplitude is 1/4. 1/4 is therefore the max. -1/4 would be the min. We're dealing with the y variable, and this would be how you would write the range of values that is appropriate for this function. So we took care of the amplitude and the range so far. The frequency is going to be the b value, and that's in front of the x value. 1/2 is multiplied by x, making the frequency 1/2. And our period is going to be 2 pi divided by the 1/2. Keep, change, flip, making the period 4 pi. That's how much time it takes for one full cycle of that function to complete itself. And also we need to be aware of, for the quiz, translations. So we start off with our original y equals cosine of x equation, and we're going to describe the translation or the direction of the shift. Is it going left, right, up, or down? And how many units? In question 1, we have cosine of x minus 4. Since there's a minus 4 at the end, this would be a translation 4 units downward. It's a vertical change. Actually, this is question 21 from this resource. Question 22, we see a plus 3 at the end. So we're definitely going 3 units up now in a vertical direction. But inside parentheses controls the phase shift or the horizontal movement. And we see how x plus pi. And when we have x plus a number, we're going to the left. So this is going left pi units, which is 180 degrees, since the x represents the angle measurement. Question 23. In question 23, there's a 2 in front of the cosine, meaning that our amplitude is 2. However, that's not going to affect the translation. But we do notice how, in parentheses, x is added to 30 degrees. Since x is being added with 30, we're going to the left, and instead of being in radians, the input value is in degrees, 30 degrees. Question 24. At the end we see minus 7, so this is going to be 7 units down. And the b value is the value 5 because it's in front of x or multiplied by x. However, there's no parentheses surrounding the x input, so there's no horizontal translation happening here.